Yeah, so you want to talk Borderlands 3 primarily?
I mean, we could do that if you want, just because it's a really popular game right now. It just came out, so it
Mm-hmm.
might be a good thing to talk about. The other
Yeah.
idea I had was to maybe make some predictions for what might get Game of the Year, because we're getting to that time. We're about 2.5 months away before the end of the year, and we're going to get VGAs happening in December. So it's going to be really exciting to see what could potentially get that prestigious Game of the Year award.
Yeah, that's a fun idea. It'd be nice to have more people on when we talk that,
Yeah,
so we can get
that's
more
true. That's
perspectives on.
true.
But I mean,
I
we could start speculating a little bit and then have a show later where we
Yeah,
bring more people in. Sure.
yeah.
Cool. All right. Where's my everything's automated, so when I've hit go live, it's stuff shows up in the Discord and stuff shows up on social media and all that stuff. But it always takes like a minute or two to actually pop up. So let me see.
Let me also retweet and all that good stuff too. Let me get on the Twitter account.
Yeah, everything up and going. All right. Stream Elements now knows that we're live. Yeah, I have a feeling this will be a shorter episode with just the two of us. And, not
You
as much
say
to talk
that
about.
now. I can talk. Like,
I know
it's
all of us can. It's
the,
how
the
it goes.
last two podcast episodes were like extreme. Like literally, I had to take 3 editing sessions because it was that long.
That's crazy.
It was like 3 hours and 40 minutes and 4 hours. And I was like, oh my God. Like,
Wow.
by the time I was done with the last episode, I had no voice at all.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that's too long. That's so much. I mean, some people really like a really long episode, but that's a lot to do.
Yeah, especially in Destiny. If you look at some of the Destiny content creators, and especially podcasters, they go for a while. Like DCP, they go for 2.5 hours generally. That's kind of their average show.
Wow.
And
yeah.
We've had some 2.5 hour shows. I think the shortest one was like 2 hours. I don't think we ever had anything shorter than that.
Putting a little note in here to get it kickstarted. Robots Radio. There we go. In the Discord. See if anybody wants to join us. All right. Well, we can go ahead and get started. Pieman's in the channel. Hey, Pieman. What's up, buddy? All right. So here we'll kick off the recording, and oh yeah, Pieman's got the red Kirby. Little Kirby guy's great. All right, here we go. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Robots Roundtable podcast. I am your host, Robots, and this week we have a very I don't know what you want to call this, tight little, small little individual, two people, just the two of us kind of conversation going on between me and Cornholio from the Destiny Show podcast. Welcome, Cornholio. How's it going?
I'm doing great. It's been a really exciting week, and thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, of course. Every week, everybody at the Robots Radio. What's the name of the freaking network? Words are just falling out of my brain all of a sudden. Robots Radio Network. All the hosts are welcome to join us, because this is the podcast where we talk about everything and anything and everything and all sorts of things and deep things and fun things. And this week we're going to be diving into some of the new games that are coming out, because last week we were talking about things that we're looking forward to in the fall, including things like Halloween and all sorts of other fun stuff, and some of the games coming out. And this week we had the launch of a few new games. I feel like we're slowly sliding down the hill into all the fall releases. And in my mind, and I think you can probably agree with me, Cornholio, one of the first big notifications for, new games coming out for the fall was the release of Borderlands 3. and you and I have both been playing it. So why don't we just dive right into that? I know you have some thoughts, and I am especially interested in you coming from a loot shooter like the Destiny world and now shifting into Borderlands 3 and some of your thoughts on that, having so much experience with Destiny.
So, I have so many thoughts about Borderlands because, believe it or not, before Destiny was even a thing, there was a game called Borderlands 1. And
yeah, right?
my goodness, I played that game so much, and it was 2009, I want to say, so it's been a decade. And it's such an amazing game because the way that the co-op works in Borderlands and the way that the reward system works, it's so perfect, and it is one of those games that you just have to experience with your friends. And if you like shooters, this is the game for you. And Borderlands 3, it's very highly anticipated. It's 5 years in the making, right? So it's been a long time coming for Borderlands fans and for fans of shooters, looter shooters. And for me,
yeah,
I think Borderlands does something different for me than what Destiny does, because I think that it has a more immersive storyline, in my opinion, and I think it has this whimsical humor to it that other games just don't have. And it's so good, and there's so much controversy going around the Borderlands 3 release as well. There's a lot that happened in the last 3-4 months leading up to its release, and I'm liking it. So far, I've been really enjoying this game, and I was kind of on the fence about buying it because of some of the controversies that came across that game. Actually, I started a Borderlands podcast a while back, and we had a guest by the name of Submato, and not too long ago, 2K did something kind of controversial.
Mm-hmm. We got the dogs in the background as usual.
Sorry about that.
They're usually my dogs, but hey, we should take our turns.
Give me 1 second.
Sure, no problem. So, audience, and just so everybody knows, this is a show we do weekly at 1 p.m. Eastern and 10 a.m. Pacific on Sundays. And we are currently streaming this live with a Twitch audience. So hi to everybody in Twitch, Pieman, Tech Blaze, Snowman Factory. Welcome, everybody. So are you back?
Yes, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Awesome. No, you're fine. So you were saying there's controversy, and words are hard sometimes, guys. Eek, right. Welcome to the stream. All right, so yeah, let's dig into the controversy a little bit. And you know what? Why don't we do this before we get into the controversy? Why don't we give our listeners a little bit of a background of our experience with the games? Because you bring up Borderlands 1, and having done a podcast about Borderlands in the past, did you play through Borderlands 1, 2, and the pre-sequel?
Okay, so funny story. I played through the entire Borderlands 1 and 2. I started playing the pre-sequel, but I only kind of scratched the surface of it. I've played about, I would say, 5 hours of it. So I didn't really get a chance to dive
the intro section,
too deep into it. It was a fun game. I think that Gearbox does a really phenomenal job with the series. But I remember putting in hundreds of hours into Borderlands 1 and about 150 into Borderlands 2. I think I haven't played like 1 or 2 of the DLCs in the second one still. But everything else, I've pretty closely followed the series, and I've played through all of the games. So this one was really exciting for me, especially now I get a chance to play it on PC, because I built my
you
PC
played the others on
couple years ago, and before I was playing it on console. So when I played Borderlands 1, that was on Xbox 360, right?
Yeah, man, that's so long ago.
Yeah.
And sorry, go on. I've got some thoughts on all these things too, but you were saying you got to play it on PC, so you're experiencing that difference of. I guess there's definitely fidelity. There's also a different community around that.
Yeah, it's I mean, every game that I play now as an adult, it's like I'm like a kid in a candy store because being able to play these games in high frames with high resolution, it's like a dream come true for a gamer like myself because I love video games. I've played video games since I was like in diapers. Like it's been a lifelong journey for me playing Nintendo games, playing Sega Genesis games, all the retros, and now being a huge fan of a lot of PC titles and my Nintendo Switch. Oh man, I love my Switch. So
Yeah.
it's been really really cool playing through Borderlands 3, and I almost didn't get it. I wasn't
Right.
going to get it
Because
but
of the controversy.
I'll tell you about that.
Controversy.
Yeah,
You
we're
know,
gonna
I'm just
talk
going to
about
turn
that.
into, I think what I'll do is I'm just going to do a Sean Connery impression for the rest of the show. So I can say things like, the controversy. So,
There you go. I like that.
well,
like
here,
that.
before we get into that, let me relate some of my experience because dude, I love the Borderlands games and I've got to nerd out about them too. Borderlands 1 was great. I really enjoyed it. Borderlands 2, I feel like they knocked it out of the park. I really enjoyed. It was almost like there was too much content at one point once all the DLCs dropped. And I had that same kind of fatigue as you. You know, I don't know if it was fatigue on your part that you didn't quite get to all of them, but for me, I think I tried all of them out. But I enjoyed the base game so much and trying out the different characters and then the new classes when they came out and playing with different groups of friends and kind of restarting and playing through, you know, a different playthrough. And the story was so good. And Handsome Jack was such a good bad guy. I don't know. There was so much about Borderlands 2 that I really, really liked. So I think by the time a lot of the DLC stuff came out, it felt a little grindy, I think, at that point. But I mean, that's a very minor complaint after something that was so well done. And then the pre-sequels, I believe I got through the whole story at least once.
How did you like the pre-sequel?
The pre-sequel.
Because some people were a bit mixed about that one.
Yeah, I don't know that the overall quality was as good. There were some fun ideas like having Claptrap as a playable character. Getting a glimpse of the story before what happens in 2 is kind of interesting. It's in watching the from a story perspective, the descent of Handsome Jack into madness and terribleness. I thought that was interesting. The gameplay was interesting. I miss the really high jumps from being on a lower gravity place, at least in the beginning part. I can't speak to all of Borderlands 3 because I'm only about, I don't know, 10 levels in so far. But I keep wanting to double jump in Borderlands 3 in order to like get higher, but it's not a thing in this one. Butt slams were good. That's in 3. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I've been spoiled by triple jumps in Destiny.
So yeah.
For me, it's like I gotta have my jumps.
And yeah,
I'm not very good at platforming. Like I can do Mario up until it gets really tough, then I get frustrated. But
yeah.
Oh man, jumping is not my thing. But I do agree with that.
So let's move into some of the controversy. Now that you're saying that was one of the reasons why you were considering not getting it, and just in case people aren't keeping up with all of this, what was the big dilemma for you?
Okay, so the big thing for me was a guest that we had on our podcast. He pretty much 2K did some really not so nice things to him. A little bit of a backstory. He was the first person to leak the announcement of Borderlands 3 months before the game came out. Like he talked about it. I'm not really sure where he got his sources, but apparently 2K was investigating him for 10 months, according to an IGN article that was released, and it all kind of culminated with 2K sending investigators to the man's house because he found some images from a private Twitch stream and he made a video about it. He talked about it. I don't think he revealed anything in that video that would hurt the game in any way. He just talked about some of the Twitch integrations before it was officially announced.
Right.
So,
so he broke
2K
broke NDA basically internally on
well, here's the thing. He didn't even have an NDA, which is the weirdest thing about this. He had no NDA whatsoever, so he didn't break any kind of a contract with the publisher. But he just got some information from somebody and he made a video about it as a secondhand reporter of the information. So 2K sent investigators to the man's house, and I kid you not, they literally sent investigators to threaten him, to get information from him, and as soon as the investigators left his house, his YouTube channel was striked 50 times, and they have a strike 3 policy.
Mm-hmm.
And if
50 is a little bit extreme.
3 times, he's pretty much, his channel is done. They shut him down. They shut down his channel on YouTube. They shut down his Discord. And essentially they ruined his entire career and aspiration and livelihood, because when I had him on the podcast, he was actually planning towards the end of the summer to go full-time as a YouTuber. And he's had his channel for years. For 3 years, he had over 100,000 subscribers and followers on his channel, and all of a sudden they pretty much just kind of ruined him. And I felt so bad about that, because during our interview he talked about wanting to go full-time and all the different aspirations he had, and you could tell he was very passionate about the game. So while I don't necessarily agree that he should have been leaking information, I also think that 2K handled this in kind of the worst way possible.
Yeah, it's pretty extreme. I wonder if there was something else he signed internally when he was, he was hired, right? He was working for them?
No, he wasn't. He was just
he wasn't even working. He didn't
YouTuber.
So he didn't even have any external freelance contracts or anything like that.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. He was just a fan of the game who made
just
a YouTube
got some
channel,
information,
and he's reporting on it. And I don't think that the things he reported on were very malicious in any way. I don't think there was anything that would affect 2K sales. He, if anything, I think what he talked about created more excitement and buzz for the game. So I almost feel like they could have maybe invited him to the studio, showed him around, and just talk to him and be like, hey, we want some of the information to be kept private. If you agree to sign this NDA, we'll give you some cool things, and we'll give you a special experience as a Borderlands fan. And I just think they could have handled it very differently, but they chose to essentially attack him, and it felt like they're attacking content creators who are supporting the game, who are fans of the game.
Right.
So that was kind of my dilemma. I really felt so bad about the whole thing, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to support 2K in buying the game.
Yeah, I'm always torn with this kind of stuff because, and I've mentioned this before. I think when I was guesting on the DL and we were talking about some of the stuff going on with Bethesda, you end up with these very large corporations. And anytime you get beyond a group of people that's 30 people in a room, everything becomes disconnected. And a lot of us have worked for organizations that are much larger than that. And you end up with a situation where the people making decisions about certain parts of the activities of the company are not the same people who are making decisions about what's going to happen with the game and the game design and the programmers and sometimes even the marketing of those things. Like you've got the marketing team, you've got the financial team who's worried about certain other things. You've got the design team. You've got oftentimes you even have a publisher, and then you have a totally separate design house that just is being contracted by the publisher. So they're not even actually the same company in some ways. So it gets very complicated because oftentimes you have, and anytime you have this many people, you have different types of individuals and different kinds of people who have different philosophies about how to handle things like this. And I'm not justifying by any means overly heavy-handed tactics that ruin the livelihood of other people. I think there's, like you're saying, there's definitely a smarter way to go about this. If the community is going to give you free press, then you should interact with that community. And there is a very, very good way to get them to be a little bit more in line with what's going on with maybe the product that they're making, and try to work with them for a certain amount of time before you do something as extreme as this, even though that seems more extreme than I think is probably ever necessary. But it's interesting because it's, you know, the dilemma for me is there was probably some executive, somebody at the executive level who saw what was going on, who felt like in their, and probably made some sort of rash decision because they have to justify multiple decisions about lots of things every day. And in their emotional reaction to whatever was going on, made some sort of rash decision and said, we need to set a precedent for this. We need to close this guy down. Because this isn't a big deal, but what if they were able to release information about these other things? Because that, in their opinion, this is going to ruin our marketing plan or whatever, right? And they're beholden to a team of investors and all these other people who are, you know, pushing for millions of dollars of potential income from this project that took 6 years to do, right? And in any other situation where you have a project that big outside of, say, entertainment, then yeah, that sounds like a huge thing. If you're inventing a new product and trying to get it out there, then that, you know, it's a big decision. I can see how if you come from another industry, you go, okay, well, we absolutely need to nip this in the bud. But to make the decision to not purchase the product is in some ways very difficult because you're not, a company is not just one individual, you know, like if it was one content creator who was saying things on their channel that you disagreed with, then yeah, don't support them, right? Because that's the only person you're interacting with. But when it comes to an organization like this, I'm sure that they have probably hundreds of good, well-meaning employees who are working on this game, who are probably putting over 40 hours a week worth of sweat and love into this product. And they want it to be able to get out there and for people to enjoy it. So it's tricky, you know, if you don't support it, then yeah, you're letting the company know that we don't agree with these tactics because you're voting with your dollars, but you also are no longer supporting the people who spent 5 years of their lives trying to build a product that they really believe in. So it's really tricky, you know, one person goes too far with too much power and yet influences a whole lot of stuff for everybody else who didn't have the ability to make that decision. And it's not a democratic situation. You know, it's not like they put a thing like a memo out to the whole company and was like, hey, what do you guys think we should do about this? A, B, or C, vote, you know?
Exactly. And I'm sure Gearbox didn't have any say in this. It was all 2K
right,
making the decision to protect their IP and to take things, in my opinion, a bit too far with this, because I do think that there was a better way to handle it. But at the same time, you can't take it against the people who built the game, because it was 6 years of blood, sweat, and tears to build the game. I've interacted with some of these developers, and I can tell you they're hardworking individuals who love the franchise, who put in so much of their life into creating something incredible. And being a fan of the Borderlands franchise, I had a pretty tough decision to make, and it was very much a last-minute thing. And I'll be honest with you, there was I posted something on Twitter, and I think you were one of the people who responded. And I wanted to play with you guys too, right? I wanted to get a chance to play Borderlands with you and with Epic NNG, who is another awesome content creator who's actually a friend of the person who got kind of shortchanged here. Yeah, it was really interesting to see that all happen. And this game, I think it could very well be Game of the Year. I think it's such a amazing game. There's so many things that they did so well with it, from the art style to the graphics to the gameplay and the weapons. Oh man, I love the weapons in Borderlands 3.
Yeah, and let's I definitely want to get into how much of the game you've played and your experience and things like that. The one other caveat I have, well, let's clear up some of the crappy stuff first, I guess. The one other caveat I have is that people have been having performance issues, and the frame rate on consoles is supposedly absolutely terrible. Even when you put it on performance mode, it hits 30 frames. That's performance mode. Graphics mode, even on like a PS4 Pro, is struggling to get 24 frames, I think. So that's tough. It sounds like it's a little unoptimized at this point for the technology. I have a really mean system and have a hard time keeping 60 frames on, on all the settings on ultra or whatever. So it seems like there's a little bit of optimizing from the technical side that could have been done. But to move on to the positives, how many hours have you put in so far? Because I know you and I both just picked it up this week. We didn't get early copies or anything like that.
So yeah, I actually did not get my copy of the game until yesterday morning. I purchased it from this third-party website, and I ended up waiting like 12 hours before I actually got the game. So I started playing yesterday morning. I didn't have too much time to play. I spent 4 hours about that playing the game, and I've enjoyed it. I did have those frame issues, kind of, but I also have a really powerful computer that can handle pretty much anything. I normally play Destiny in 140 frames and no problem. This game was running between 60 and 80 for me, and that's on Ultra.
Yeah.
Something happened this morning where the settings somehow reverted to DirectX 12, which is not having much luck with the game. And the game wouldn't even start.
It just switched over?
Yeah.
That's
and
weird.
I had to do some research and troubleshoot, and I ended up going in and manually changing it from DirectX 12 to DirectX 11. And that cleared things up. But I did notice the frame things. I think they do have some optimization that they need to make with the graphics drivers and all that. So it's going to be interesting to see how the game evolves in the next few weeks, because I'm sure they're going to have some updates that will patch a lot of the issues.
Yeah, I think this is of the things to be not functioning right. This is one of the most minor ones, I think.
Exactly.
It was still playable. So it was totally playable.
I mean, for me, I can't really complain too much being able to play the game in 60 frames plus, even though normally I would play double that. So it didn't affect me as much with the performance issues, but it definitely could be better optimized for both consoles and PC.
So now, how many hours do you think you've put in so far?
Like 4 hours.
4 hours? Okay. So your character is probably level 5 or 6 or something like that?
My character by now is level...
Uh-oh. You disappeared. You've been muted. 2K decided to cut off your audio.
Uh-oh.
Oh, you're back. Good. 2K made a very quick decision to reinstate your audio.
There we go.
Yay. So
banned.
Unbanned. All right. So in 4 hours, how far have you gotten?
I got to level 9.
Okay.
I actually got to Sanctuary, and now I'm just exploring the Sanctuary ship and all that good stuff. And that's where I kind of left off, because I had to do some podcast editing, because we had some pretty long podcasts. So I've been pretty diligent with getting that all together. But yeah, so far I'm really enjoying the game. Aside from those performance issues, I love the story. I love the new protagonist in the game.
They're so good. They're so good. So I'm like level 10, and I started a main character and started as the siren and was punching stuff with my magic fists. And then I switched over and kind of grinded and this was playing with some other people. And then I switched over and grinded up the, what's the guy with the little drone that he can send out? And he's got like the Australian accent, I think. He's got like the little beard facial hair thing, the older guy.
Is it Marcus?
No, Marcus is the gun the gun seller guy, the chubby dude. I forget his name. Anyway, that guy, I switched to him, and I think I'm enjoying him more for at least the way I've been wanting to come at the game so far. So which character did you choose?
So I'm currently playing as Zane.
He's the big robot dude, right? The hunter?
He kind of looks like Handsome Jack almost.
Okay, yeah. That's the guy I'm talking about. The guy who looks kind of older and he's got like the facial hair. Yes, Zane. Okay.
Yeah.
So I picked him as well.
Yeah. And it's been fun. I haven't really upgraded my skill trees yet too much, so I haven't really explored any of the really cool super abilities that he has.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, you're only 9 levels in. There's only so much you can do at this point, too.
He has this really cool like shield that he puts up that protects any kind of incoming damage, and then you can just
shoot through it,
kill everything, and it's I love the weapon system in the game, because for me, throughout the process, I feel like everything is rewarding, right? I'm playing the game, I get a drop, it's like a legendary, but it's not at the higher level, but I still feel like I'm being rewarded throughout the entire experience of the game. And that's one thing that I really appreciate about Borderlands. Besides the vastness of the sandbox, it's such a big map too.
Oh yeah.
And all the planets that you have to explore.
So you went the shield ult. It's like their ults, basically.
Yeah.
So I initially went the drone, and have been using the drone ability, which is cool because, you know, like you and I are only like 9-10 levels in, so we only have so much of the tree built out. But with the drone, you can send it out to fight enemies, so it can like fly around. It can get a little aggro, but mostly it just kind of drops extra DPS on an enemy you're looking at initially. And in that tree, you also have upgrades for doing more damage for moving faster while shooting things, which is really cool because I don't know that I know of anything else that's used that idea. And I don't like to, in a game like this, I don't like to just hunker down in one spot and shoot, which you could totally do with the shield, right? That's you could shoot through the shield. You get damage bonus through the shield. But in this playthrough, it's more about moving fast and dodging bullets. So even in the first tier of upgrades, you can get more damage for moving and shooting, but then you can also get speed boost for every time you kill somebody. So you can see how those two stack together.
Okay, that's really cool. It almost kind of reminds me of a ability in Borderlands 2. I really love Bloodwing. I would send out Bloodwing and he would just mess things up. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Borderlands 2.
I don't think I didn't play that character. I played a number of playthroughs with different characters. I don't think I did that one. That's what's part of the fun of this game, is that there's so much content, and you can group with all sorts of different people and do the content in different order depending on who you're grouping up with. But then you can always go back and try out another build or try out another character. There's so much to do with it.
And also, after you beat the normal mode, there's also a harder difficulty that opens up for you. I believe it's called UVHM, if I'm not mistaken. And you're able to get even better weapons from the second playthrough that you do. And
like a new game plus.
Yeah. And mind you, you also can play through with different characters, as you mentioned, and your abilities change, and also the way that you play changes as well. So I think that there's so much replayability in the game. And I don't know if you saw, they also had this dungeon in the mode, and there's like a horde mode that's available.
Yes.
I haven't played those yet, but I'm really excited to check those out.
Right. I, for a moment, queued up last night and just was like, maybe I'll jump in and try these out. And I don't think a lot of people are playing it yet, because it ticked around for about a minute or two, and then eventually I was like, just go do the other mode. But I think it's one of those things that, especially once people get through the main story, which is probably going to take, 30 hours. I mean, it seems like it's a pretty significant amount of content from what I can tell. But yeah, that seems like the kind of thing that'll keep you coming back, or building a new character and really trying it out in those modes. So I was glad. I was happy when saw it. There's a lot that seems to be locked away in weird corners. Like that menu isn't up front and center. Also, and I just figured this out yesterday, if you go into the social menu in the main menu, you can then go to messages that are sent to you. And that includes messages from characters in the game who are sending you like DLC content or unlocks that you get from certain events. Or I'm assuming when you run the plugin for Borderlands 3 or the extension on Twitch, and a streamer unlocks something and it's connected to your account, then that's where that goes. So I didn't even realize it was there for like the first, 10 hours that I played. So there's a lot more in this game than you can notice right away. The UI is a little bit weird in that that's not included right away in a very obvious place, but it's there, which is really cool.
That's really awesome.
So I had a question.
Yes.
Everybody knows with these games that one of the big fun points of Borderlands are the guns. And so far, up to level 9, do you have any notable guns that you've come across that you really have enjoyed so far? And I asked this question knowing that the really, really crazy ones start to show up towards the end of the level progression. But even in the first, 4 hours that you've been through, you're going to come across some wacky stuff that's going to happen. Do you have anything notable?
I got this really cool sniper rifle that I've been using. I forgot the name of it. There's so many weapons in the game.
Yeah, I don't remember any of the names. All I can tell you is just like what they do.
Yeah, there's a sniper rifle that I'm using right now and a shotgun that I'm using, and those are really fun. The cool thing for me about Borderlands is that I get a new weapon and I just equip it right away and I try to use it because it's just fun to see what they come up with in terms of new weapons.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been really enjoying the weapons in the game, and I can tell that from this being weapons that are dropping at level 9, 10, the weapons are going to be so much better once I get to the end game content. And I'm super excited about the weapons. I think that's one of the highlights for me about the game, because believe it or not, the weapons feel a little bit different than from Borderlands 3, but not in a bad way, in a good way. I think that the developers did a really phenomenal job with the weapon sounds and also the diversity, but also they kind of feel a little bit more like Destiny. They feel a little bit more crisp, and I think that that's where the Borderlands franchise is kind of like providing for me what Destiny hasn't really done extremely well, and that's through campaign story. I think that historically Destiny has been kind of on the weaker side with the storytelling and the campaigns, and with Borderlands it's just incredible.
Yeah, the characters are so wacky. Things happen and you're like, no. And then more things happen and you're like, oh yeah, no. Yeah, no spoilers.
The game isn't afraid to make fun of itself. It's not afraid to just let
very self-aware.
Have fun with it.
Yeah,
and I love that. And the twins, the Calypso twins, like the whole concept of them being streamers who are just
over
the world. It's awesome.
What'd she say? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and obey.
Yep.
So good. Yeah, I love the funny quips. The underwear guy who's like super workout dude in the beginning. The fact that Lilith shows up early and is all, of course, badass and like, hey, Vault Hunter, blah 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 blah. Yeah. Oh, it's the Firehawk. Yeah, all that stuff. So so I found some cool weapons too. I've already found a few weapons that when you reload, you toss them like grenades. Mm-hmm. Have you come across any of those yet?
Okay, so I got this grenade that creates this rainbow effect around me.
Oh, wow. I haven't seen that.
Was so cool. Every time I do that, the effect is so cool on the screen. Everything just kind of turns like all rainbowy. And I really enjoyed that. I didn't get too many diverse grenades yet in the game.
Well, this is a gun. Actually, I found a shotgun that does this and a sniper rifle where when you reload, you throw the gun.
So these are weapons. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you throw the gun and it bounces like a bouncing grenade. And I also think it seems like it moves around randomly, but it may hone in a little bit towards enemies as it bounces. I'm not 100% sure. And there was something similar in, I think it was Borderlands 2, where you had a gun that you could reload that just shot off like a rocket when you reloaded it. And then you would just like, another gun would just appear in your hands. So it's kind of like that. I found a sniper rifle that, and the other thing to note about the guns in this game, one of the big updates is that you can click to change the shoot mode for some of the guns. And I'm not just talking, semi-auto to full auto or something like that. I mean, like, there are legitimate changes to how the gun actually functions. So there was a sniper rifle I found where you could either shoot corrosive damage or electrical damage, and the shots weren't just a single shot, focused at the center of what you were shooting at. It would actually shoot 3 shots. The middle bullet would go straight, and the 2 side bullets would wind around the middle bullet. So up close, you were more likely to hit all 3, and at a distance, they would kind of spread out and hit kind of around where the center thing was. So I guess it technically gives you a chance to still hit something, even if you miss with the center bullet, maybe? I don't know what the philosophy about that is, but it was weird.
That's really interesting.
Let me see. Are there any other really weird guns that I've found? I don't know. I don't know that there's too much else that I've come across so far. The other thing I really like about the interaction with the enemies, and this is something I noticed in, this is something I've always loved in shooters when they do this well, but also in Rage 2, this happened. When you hit enemies with explosives or shotgun blasts, and sometimes this happens for shotgun blasts, the enemies really react. Like, they physically move because of the impact. They fall down. Not only can you blow off somebody's head and turn it into paste, but different parts of their bodies blow off. Or you can actually completely destroy like the top half of somebody's torso and then just like leave their legs on the ground. Sounds really gross, but it's awesome.
It's very gritty, but in just the best way possible.
The most cartooniest, like over the top way.
I love when a psycho is like running at you and you just snipe them.
Yeah, and they always yell something
like right next to you.
They always yell something super weird as they're dying. And some of them are regretful, but more often than not, they're like things like, "I knew my life would have meaning." They're dying, and it's like, what? Sometimes they say really, really weird stuff too that I don't quite get the references for yet, but maybe as the story goes further, I'll understand better.
Yeah, if I looked at some of the reviews for the game, and that was kind of one of the criticisms. I think some people didn't fully appreciate all of the jokes in the game and all the comic relief. For me, it's classic Borderlands.
Yeah, it's just wacky stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's just, like Claptrap is going to say something really dumb. That's just how the game works. You're going to come across some raiders that are like just way over the top with, like the one workout guy you meet at the beginning. And this isn't too spoilery. He wears a cape and like tidy whities, and he's like a slim dude with lots of muscles, right? And he was talking about like how he came to run a raider group. And he said something like, "Yeah, they wouldn't accept me until I was able to kill the previous leader with only my abs." like what? How does that even make sense? But it's just that like ridiculous kind of sense of humor that I think is just, I don't know, it's fun. Like if you go into, you can't take it too seriously.
Yeah, the game definitely does not take itself too seriously at all, and that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it Borderlands. And I do have a question for you, Tom, because you played Borderlands 2. Now, did you play that on PC?
Yeah, I've played I've been such a big PC gamer, even since, a little bit of my background. Growing up, my dad worked for companies like IBM, selling systems and software and stuff like that throughout like the 80s and 90s. And so even as a young child, we had like, I don't remember what system. It was like a 286 with like a green screen at a very early age, and then had like a 4-color CGA screen computer after that. And so, PC gaming along with, having an original Nintendo and all those things from a very early age was part of who I am.
Why so
Yeah,
serious?
I can very much relate.
Yeah. So even getting out of college, like one of the first things I did was upgrade my college computer to another system, and I was just willing to spend the money because I was like, I have to have a computer and I might as well have one that I can play games with. So that's almost always been a go-to for me. So when it comes to a game like this that I want to play with my friends, I always have had more friends on Steam and whatever outlets these games launch on than I have on PS4 or console. It also allows me the ability, now as a more established older adult, having a wife and who has a good career, and I have a good career, so we do have some expendable income. But I've now kept up a computer for her, and then like Oliver, my son, gets my hand-me-downs, and so I'll upgrade a system, but the other system still works, so he'll get the hand-me-down system, and then or I'll plug it into the TV in the living room so we can play games on PC on the TV, things like that. You just collect enough parts over the years that you're able to kind of piece together some extra things here and there. So it gives us the ability to all play a game without having to share a screen on a television. We can all have our own accounts.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I've always been an Xbox guy pretty much my whole life. Well, Nintendo before that.
Mm-hmm.
But when Destiny 2 came out for PC, I decided it was time to build a PC. And plus, I always had a passion for wanting to create content in video games. And that kind of led me on the path to doing a podcast, right?
Yeah.
So I knew in order for me to be able to do live streaming, I would need like an i7 processor. So I spent about 3-4 months just researching things in terms of
that's half the fun too.
Components to get, yeah.
That part's so much fun. I love just looking at benchmarks and reading people's reviews and how much does this one overclock if ever I want to do that and all that stuff.
That's kind of the one thing that I really miss about already having my computer, and I'm at a point now where I don't really have too much I can upgrade on this computer. I mean, I could, but it's not going to make any sense.
Yeah, it's going to be like hundreds of dollars for like, oh, now you get 2 more frames per second. Good job.
Exactly. But that's been really really awesome for me to get onto the PC and play all these games that I've played in much lower frames, but now I can experience them with big boy graphics and with amazing frames, and that's been such a cool experience for me as an adult gamer. Now, the reason why I asked you about whether you played Borderlands 2 on PC is because a lot of people are saying that the graphics in Borderlands 3 aren't too much different from Borderlands 2. Do you have any thoughts on that? Having actually played Borderlands 2 on PC and now playing Borderlands 3.
They are similar. I think that's part of the diminishing returns of this type of art style. The benefit of something that is cell shaded, kind of cartoony, is that even at low quality settings, the art style trumps the fidelity. Something like Destiny is always going to benefit from graphical updates because the lighting and the shadows are going to make it look more realistic. The higher resolution textures on a high resolution screen are really going to stand out. But when it comes to something like Borderlands, you get diminishing returns. It's still, most of it still looks kind of similar, Now, I guess the few places that you really can have improvements on are things like the quality of the anti-aliasing so that you don't have the jaggy edges on stuff as much. Shadows. I could imagine an update for this in the future where they put ray tracing in, because then the lighting is going to look really cool. But yeah, for the most part, I don't see a huge difference. Now, thinking that's also admitting that there's the, rose-colored glasses kind of effect where you think back to a game you loved and then you actually go back after 5-7 years and then you actually look at it and you go, oh, this isn't how I remember it. This is a lot crappier than it looked, because your brain remembers more of the experience and less about the details. So definitely. I don't know, there's not that much that's too different that I've noticed. I think the biggest things I could point out are the animations are, especially for enemies, are a bit more robust. Characters seem to do more and react more. The special effects, I mean, there were lots of special effects in previous Borderlands games, but like you're saying, like the rainbow effect that goes around you, or one thing I noticed last night was I got to a section of the game, and you've probably gone through this, where you end up in a simulation, so the screen looks like it's all pixelated. But one of the things I noticed about it is that the way it makes the screen look pixelated must have been done, and this is very technical stuff that's probably well over my head to even talk about, but when you have a screen with pixels, you have a very specific grid, right? So whether it's, 1080 pixels by 1920 pixels in a grid, what that means is if you were going to create black lines up and down that grid and you want the pixels to look twice as big, then you need to have black line, pixel, colored pixel, black line, colored pixel, black line, colored pixel. Does that make sense? So
yeah.
It has to be a specific grid per the resolution of the screen in order for it to actually look like a pixelated thing and not be blurry. And I use an ultra wide screen that's 3440 by 1440 resolution, and it did it perfectly. It like the technology that they're using doesn't just superimpose a fuzzy grid over whatever resolution you're doing. It actually knows the pixel count and is able to set it up perfectly so that it effectively turned my display into something with half the resolution for that sequence, because it created these lines exactly along pixels. And I could tell, I could tell on my screen that that's what it was doing, because everything was so clear and defined. And I'm sure that was probably one person who took like a week or two of dev work to really nail that one thing, but it looks really good. Everything looked more pixelated. Everything looked more aliased along angles and stuff. And it wasn't just some weird overlay. It actually was really crisp. So that's the kind of stuff I have a feeling is happening under the hood that makes that stuff look really, really cool. But it also, again, it's diminishing returns. Like, unless you really look at something like that, you just go, oh, the screen looks a little blurrier, because you didn't look close enough to notice,
Yeah, I think for me, I noticed the graphics look kind of similar between Borderlands 2 and Borderlands 3, but that also is given with the art style. But I don't know if you noticed this, but the color palette seems very brighter in the new game.
Yeah,
I really love the color palette. That's something I noticed.
That's always hard to compare, because in 7 years I've upgraded, a few graphics cards, a monitor, is that the game, or is that the technology I'm using to play the game? I don't know. I guess I could load up Borderlands 2 and then get a sense of what that looks like again.
Yeah, and it's funny, because I was playing Borderlands 2 not too long ago. It was like a month ago, because I got the Handsome Collection on PC. It was like $3. I was like, yes,
sure,
sign me up.
Yeah,
for $3, I will do that. So I played it a bit, and it looked very nice, but I did notice that difference with the color palettes and the color saturation with the new game. It definitely looks more vivid, and the graphics just pop, especially when you get to certain places in the game where you're not like outside where it's like open area, but you're like especially when you go into Sanctuary 3, like the colors are so cool in that place.
Yeah, some of the lighting, like the fires, like other things like that. Even the effects of like characters being affected by elemental effects, like electricity, fire, those kinds of things. I could tell that those are they're more fleshed out. They're better. And the animations, like you take down an enemy, like I shot a skag, one of those little dog guys, with a shock weapon just yesterday, and just watched it as it freaks out and shocks, and then it died, and then its corpse laid on the ground, still wreathing from the electricity, and I was like, oh, okay, I didn't notice that in previous Borderlands. That's cool.
Yeah, it's little things that they do to improve the game, that when it all comes together into one big, project, you could tell all the improvements that they've made from the previous game, and I do appreciate those subtle things.
Mm-hmm. So is there anything else to bring up? Anything else that you've particularly enjoyed about Borderlands 3? I feel like we're wrapping it up. I think we're pretty close to.
I love the fact that you can play with all of your friends, which, I mean, that's not anything unique to Borderlands 3, but it's great to have a lot of people who are excited about the game, and you have so many people to play with. So I'm excited about that. The loot, it feels really good. The weapons feel so good. And I know we talked about it briefly before, but I think the weapons are kind of a standout for me, because that's kind of the core of playing a looter shooter. It's the rewards that you get and the weapons that you can use, and I think they did a really phenomenal job with this game with all of the weapons. And there's so much in this game that I feel like I only scratched the surface, but I'm so excited to dig deeper into the game and to play with you and some of my other friends, and it's been a blast so far.
Yeah,
I've been really enjoying it, and I think Gearbox did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'll be streaming it some more this week in the evenings around 9 p.m., 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific. I might get to it tonight as well, so if you want to jump in, maybe we can grab around this evening if you're going to be playing.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, and we're at the same level, so it's perfect. It's like it was meant to be.
Yeah. My wife will be out, so maybe I'll play my other characters so I can still group up with her for the other stuff and stay on level with her. But yeah, the other thing that came to mind, just to kind of close this out, is that there are some quality of life improvements as well. Things like you open a chest and everything just automatically collects, like at least the ammo and stuff just automatically sucks into your body. You don't have to stand there holding the button to make it do that. Like, that just makes sense. Like, if you need the ammo, you're going to pick it up. So why not just automatically suck it up?
Actually, it's interesting you mentioned that, because that made me think of one other thing that really stands out. When you go to Sanctuary, there's a spot where you can collect any weapons that you haven't gotten from the world map.
Kind of like Destiny's mail system.
Kind of,
yeah.
Except the Postmaster in Destiny, they limit you to 20, and after that, you pretty much...
You're out of room, yeah.
You're out of room, and you lose things forever. And what I don't like about that is they would put crappy weapons that are really common into your Postmaster that 99% of the players would just dismantle anyways.
Right.
So I really wish they just dismantled all the bad stuff for you.
Right. Yeah, like clearly you're not going to use this. Yeah.
Yeah. But that can be a bit limiting. But I went to Sanctuary and I opened up this vending machine and weapons popped out, and I was like, oh, what's this? This is cool. And pretty much it collected all of the weapons that I didn't get in the world that I actually acquired from defeating bosses and enemies, and they just keep it in that machine for you until you get to Sanctuary, and that's when you're able to retrieve all of your lost items.
Yeah, super handy. Yeah, it's like the developers played the previous games and went, maybe if we did this, it will be better. That's nice. That's great. I love when they get to make those decisions and actually work them into games and they become priority,
Yeah, quality of life changes that will make the game better in the long run. Now, Tom, what version of the game did you pick up? Did you pick up the standard edition, the deluxe, or the super deluxe?
So this is how I normally operate, which is probably foreshadowing what I actually did. Normally, I look at a game like this and I try to get it for as cheap as I possibly can. And I look at the expanded editions and I'm like, I don't really need the extra skins. I don't really need the extra stuff. The game's probably going to be fine. Maybe I'll pick up the DLC in the future if I really want to keep playing it. But I know from my previous experience with the other Borderlands games that I was like, I'm going to pick up the DLC. I'm going to pay more later if I do it. So my brain went, standard edition, extra edition, like ultimate edition. Okay. So I went ahead and got like the whole kit and caboodle. It's like $40 for the extra stuff plus the DLCs whenever they come out. And I was like, you know what? If they release 4 DLCs in the future for $15 each, I just save myself $20. And DLCs are less likely to go on sale in the future than the base game. So
that is true.
I rationaled my way into a decision that feels a little bit ridiculous, but I think I'm okay with it. What'd you get?
So I got the standard edition. I was going to get the super deluxe edition. I really wasn't interested in that middle version that came with some skins, because for me, it's like, for skins, I really don't care. And it's not going to make any difference to me when I'm playing the game. In fact, I feel like whenever you get skins that are part of a deluxe edition, 99% of the time, when you're playing the game and you're playing the end game content, you're going to get better stuff at that point. Anyways, that you're
kind of fun for the beginning, but yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it helps you in the beginning. So I was going to get the super deluxe edition. It sold out on the store where I was buying it from, and they didn't have that available. So the next best option for me was the standard edition. So that's what I kind of had to go with. And I didn't really want to wait for the super deluxe to come back in stock because I wanted to play the game now.
Sure.
So I got the regular edition, but I definitely see myself picking up the season pass once the first expansion comes out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. I just kind of gave in. I was like, well, I'll just get it.
Hey man, this is 6 years in the making. This is such a big game, and of all the games that could come out, I think Borderlands 3 is that one game. If you're into looter shooters, you're going to want this game.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. I would give it a Robots Radio thumbs up. I should standardize that as like a rating metric. It's like, I give it a full thumbs up.
I think Craig just left.
Oh no, Craig just left. I gotta make Craig come back. What are you doing? Oh, well, I'll just pull the audio from the stream. Yeah, it's like there was now it's telling me it failed to join even though it was in the channel. So maybe Craig's having problems. Yeah, that's all right.
That's
but yeah, our audio is pretty balanced on the stream, so we won't have an issue. But yeah, I just went ahead and grabbed it. So, well, thanks for hanging out and talking Borderlands 3. I know both of us were very excited about it, and this has been super enjoyable. Man, this is what happens when some of the other hosts can't make it, and we get to just nerd out about a game we've been playing. So
exactly.
I hope the audience enjoyed the conversation. And Cornholio, I know you've been on the show a few times, but let's remind them where they can get a hold of you and some of the fun stuff you've been doing.
Okay, so you can find us on Twitch. We have a Twitch channel. We're actually getting a rebrand and a redesign, which I'm really excited to work on later today. You can find us at twitch.tv/The Destiny Show. We're also on every major podcasting platform, whether you listen on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, and all the other platforms that are available. I think we're on like 11 or 12 different platforms now. And also we have a website, destinyshow.com. I post all of these show notes on there, and you can learn more about our guests each week. And this coming week, we're going to have GSXR Clyde on the show, and he is one of the coolest Sherpas in the Destiny community. So I'm so excited to hang out with him finally. And
Sherpa is such a good word.
That's going to be happening Thursday. He helps pretty much anyone who needs help through raids or any kind of end game content in Destiny. Really down to earth guy, and he has such an incredible story that I can't wait to learn more about how he got started and all that good stuff. So we're going to be doing that Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Nice.
And other than that, we have bigger guests that are in the works for October and beyond. And I'm really excited to podcast every week. And that's where you can find us. And also we're on Twitter as well at The Destiny Show. And that's where you can find us.
Cool. Very, very cool. And you guys know me. I'm Tom or Robots. I've been streaming a ton in the evenings and then even on the weekends a little bit. I'll probably be on later today again, playing some Plants vs. Zombies The new one came out, Battle for Neighborville. It's basically Garden Warfare 3. And those games are super fun. They don't get a whole lot of publicity, but and they're a good time. So they're also a lot of fun for a 9-year-old, but they're also a lot of fun for somebody my age too. So I'll probably be streaming some more of that later today with him, which is a lot of fun. We did a little bit of it yesterday. But otherwise, I'm the host of the Fallout Lorecast, the Elder Scrolls Lorecast, the Cyberpunk Lorecast, and a bunch of other little side project podcasts. And the guy who started the Robots Radio Network and got to meet cool people like Cornholio and invite them with their awesome shows onto the network. So if you're looking for more information about any of the other shows on the network or our shows specifically, you can always go to robotsradio.net to look that stuff up. And make sure that you remember to follow the Destiny Show's Twitch account as well. What's the address for your Twitch account? What is it?
It's twitch.tv/The Destiny Show.
The Destiny Show, because you guys do your podcast live as well, just like this one.
We do it live, and it's been really exciting because we started about 2 months ago. And after the first week, we hit our affiliate status, which was really exciting for me. And now we're kind of planning the next phase of the podcast. We're going to be doing giveaways live, and we're going to be doing some really cool things, working on getting some emotes made as well. So that's pretty exciting as well. And yeah, we really enjoy hanging out live. I'm actually also working on getting moderators on board because we had some need for that in the last few weeks. We had some bad apples, and as we're growing, right? And yeah, it was funny because we had an episode where like over 100 people showed up, and I was just not prepared. And
wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I looked up at Streamlabs. I'm like, it says 130 people. Is this real? And I almost had to look twice because I thought I'm maybe looking at something wrong. And then I looked at chat, and it was just blowing up. And I was like, oh my God, this is insane.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
So we're preparing for all that. And yeah, it's so much fun to hang out live. And I know, Tom, you also have a pretty big milestone that you just kind of celebrated. You did share that privately on the Discord.
Yeah, well, I shared it on publicly on the Twitter account too. So
okay.
So it did get out there. Yeah, the Fallout Lorecast just hit 150,000 plays. That's the metric. So yeah, we just hit 100,000 like I don't know, it was like a month or two ago. It wasn't that long ago, and now we're already at 150,000. So we have another 50% in just like 2 months or whatever it was. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. The shows have been going great. Been getting lots of awesome feedback from people. And, continuing to kind of play with the format a little bit and expand it in some interesting, fun ways. So, yeah, if you're into Fallout or Elder Scrolls or Cyberpunk, if you're looking forward to that as well, you can check that out. And the other shows on the network are awesome too. There's lots of other shows about games and some really, really cool shows about like interesting stories, like audio drama type stuff and movies. So go check those all out. Everybody's awesome on the network. Otherwise, they don't get invited on the network. That's part of the requirement.
Exactly. And hey, big congrats on that. That's an incredible milestone, and just everything that you've accomplished this year. Like, big kudos for that. Like, it's amazing. My mind is blown.
Well, thanks, bud. Yeah, I've been working hard. I guess the joke on the Discord is that like I'm actually a robot, or I never sleep, or something. Because people are like, how do you do all these shows and stream games and have a full-time job and a family and any downtime and sleep and, everything. So, yeah, it's a lot of work. But, I hit a point in my life where I was like, you know what? if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it right. And I'm just going to, do as much of it as I can. And part of the fun of it is actually doing the shows is fun. And streaming games is fun, and talking with the community is fun. So it's a lot easier to do things when you really enjoy them than when they feel like work,
Exactly. It doesn't feel like a chore. It feels like something you love to do. And as you get better, as you see the growth and hear people's reactions, it motivates you to keep going and to work even harder. And I admire that about you. I mean, being able to run multiple podcasts. What do you have, like 4 shows now?
Yeah, I've got a few. Some of them are side projects that don't come out every week, but some of them are regular. I try to, I wasn't able to get an Elder Scrolls Lorecast episode out this week, and things have been a little bit busy at work and some other stuff, so I wasn't quite able to get it done. I might end up putting it out earlier this week to kind of reduce the amount of time between shows, but that makes me feel bad too, because I'm like, crap, I don't want to miss a week, so I do the best I can to get everything out on time. But yeah, it's who knows? Maybe this will continue to take off, and I can do this full time. That would be amazing. But I mean, really, it's all down to the listeners, and it's just the support that we get from the fans and listeners. And it's weird to say fans, because it's that's weird. It's like, I'm just a dude who does shows just like anybody else.
And for anyone listening, do support Robots Radio. Those guys are amazing. There's so many great shows on the network, and the incredible work that Tom does, he deserves your support so much. So definitely go ahead and subscribe and follow, and definitely support the network.
Yeah, thanks. And you too, by the way. If you're into Destiny, make sure you check out Cornholio's The Destiny Show. So, all right, enough patting ourselves on the back and each other on the back and giving ourselves neck massages and feet massages. Well, thank you again for joining me, and to everybody who is listening and everyone live in the stream, thank you so much for being here every week. We always look forward to talking with you guys on Sundays and just hanging out with everybody. I will be back later today doing some more streaming, so look for that notification to pop up. And from me and Cornholio and everybody here at Robots Radio, thank you so much for hanging out, and thanks, Cornholio. I'll talk to you again later.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys.
Have a great week, everyone.
Have a great week. Bye. And we're done. Yeah, good times. It was nice to be able to just talk about Borderlands the whole episode.
So much for a short episode, huh?
Yeah, right? Right. All great plans never survive contact with the enemy.
All for the fun.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great hanging out with you today, and I can't wait to play some more Borderlands with you. Definitely we'll have to get on that sometime soon.
Yeah, I'll try to be on tonight. So if you're able to hop on tonight, let me know. And anybody else in the stream right now, anybody else in the channel, if you guys pick up Borderlands through NPC, friend us up. I think I'm Robots 0, like with a bunch of zeros, R0, B0, TS 0. So if you want to shoot me a friend invite, you guys can do that. Yeah.
And
awesome.
I'm very easy to find. OMG Cornholio.
No OMG.
Numbers. OMG Cornholio. And yeah.
No numbers. Much easier.
No numbers.
So, all right, cool, man.
All right.
Well, I'll let you go and stream, chat. I'll see you guys later.
All right. Have a great Sunday, everyone. Bye.
You too. See ya.